All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Wealth Building for Dummies podcast. My name is Kyle Demian. As always, I'm joined here with Renji Matthew. And then on today's episode, we have a special guest, Jeff Cunningham, otherwise known as Jeff the Entrepreneur, across pretty much all social media platforms. Right, Jeff? It's got to be.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, I'll say that's your brand. It better be.
That is my brand.
So, Jeff, number one, thank you so much for jumping on our podcast and hanging out with us tonight. Fill us in. Give us 60, 90 seconds of who is Jeff?
Yeah, so 60, 90 seconds. Who am I? So if you ever not felt like you wanted to wake up, I have. 6 years ago, 7 years ago, 2016, me and my older brother, what defined me, we were going to move to Miami, build a coffee shop music studio. And when we had the dream, he married the wrong girl, like a supermodel. She was fine, but he was doing everything to keep her happy, everything that would make you happy, all that flashy stuff. And he was dead inside. I moved to Connecticut, where I'm from. We wrote out the dream. I was teaching behavioral middle school, coding, video editing, music studio. And he talked me to quit to go build it. And when I decided to do it, I went to wake him up. He didn't wake up. He died on drugs, fentanyl. When that happened, one of my students that I was teaching committed suicide. They tossed me in therapy. The lady said, ADD, OCD. I said, fine, met me up. Went home to my dad. My dad gave me a book, Power of Subconscious Mind. You ever read that book or no?
I don't think so.
Yeah, it's by Dr. Joseph Gordon-Murphy, a really good book about the subconscious mind. Very good. I was actually doing some subconscious mind training today. And then showed me a video by a guy named that we all know, Uncle G. And I went home that day. I prayed to God. You know, it's funny because people kept saying, hey, Jeff, it's not your fault. It's not your fault. And all I heard was your fault. It's your fault. It's your fault. So I thought really hard about committing suicide. Went home that day, planned on how to do it. This is why, even though me and Grant go back and forth at it, and I know a lot of people hate and love Grant. Man, I watched that video. It was a God-given gift to see that video. He said that they want to medicate him and he had potential problems. And I saw this guy. I was like, this guy can do it. I can do it. So I got out of bed and I wrote down, I'm going to build the biggest franchise ever. And I'm my brother called Kokomo J's. You don't give America. If you help enough people get where they want, you get to where you want. And I just started documenting the journey. And that's present day, man. That's where we're at. We now live in Miami. We're 3 years. I own a little marketing consulting business, although it's getting bigger. We have 6 licensed coaches aside from myself now. And then I own a little VA company in the Philippines. And we help basically build online courses for people and get the right knowledge. As Brad Lee would say, the knowledge from people who don't have it, the people who need it, right? That's what he'd say. That's me in a nutshell. My end goal, maybe a year we can look at back from this podcast for 3 years, and we can be doing a podcast right down here in Miami, you know?
Absolutely.
That would be awesome.
Love that idea.
Yeah, it's gonna happen, by the way. Because no offense to music studio, but kind of I spent a lot of time at PUD's little cigar lounge, and they record podcasts there. And I'm gonna have the same setup over here. Maybe I might sell my consulting business back to PVD, Bet David Consulting, and he might invest in the coffee shop. Who knows? And by the way, there's nothing on that. We just both have admiration for each other, and I wouldn't be shocked if something like that happened. You know, he'd be someone. Although Adam Weitzman's a guy that I've looked at before. He owns a few restaurants. He'd be someone I would take in for an investor too.
There you go.
Cool.
I love it. Dude, Jeff, one of the things you mentioned was you started documenting the journey, and you've been doing that for what, 6, 7, 8+ years? At least I've been following you, for 5+ years. We were talking about before the show how we've talked before a few different times. And I think what you've done is such a good job with branding, and now you've built a business, helping other people with branding too. So talk about that, and documenting the journey, I think is such a good idea for many reasons, but I want to hear your take on it. Why did you start doing it, and what's kept you doing it, and what kind of results have you seen from doing that over time?
Well, there's a quote, documentation over conversation, right? And a lot of people will talk about how they should, and it's more meant to write down stuff, but it works in this case, right? Because documentation is proof of the concept that you're doing it. Okay, you're going out to do it. It builds trust. That's the biggest thing. I'm even documenting now of me now wearing a suit coat and now doing and rebranding, right? I'm documenting it's gonna be a little tough. I know now we're at the point people made 6, 7, some people made 8 figures that I've worked with now. So now we're okay enough to teach, right? But yeah, documenting builds trust, man. So many people don't do it because they're afraid. They want to put out this version of who they want to be, which is fine. We all want to be more than, and I'm not like against that. That's fine and point. But documentation builds trust, right? When you go out there, you go live, you kind of just tell a story of really where you're at right now. Like, hey, we're in here doing this podcast and we want to be number one, then Joe Rogan get some sponsors at it, right? We're going to show you till we get a sponsor on this podcast, right? Like people get curious about that, like all marketing storytelling. So if you tell it or that they get curious and say, hey, maybe Kyle will get a podcast like Joe Rogan. Maybe he'll get, a sponsor, right? It's a good way to really, if you don't want that, Gary Vee said it this way, it's just easier, man. It's easier. This whole stuff that we're doing, they're scripting. By the way, I'll show you the scripts they do. Maybe I'll get into it. They're great. It's exactly what it's scripted. It's all pointed out. It's hard work to do. It's easier just to document,
Yeah. It's easier to just go off your head and talk about what you're already doing.
Right, kind of in a way. And then just really do what you're going to do, right? Like if Kyle, if you've seen me for 5 years, and I did recognize you too. You saw me in Connecticut, right? I don't know if you saw me going door to door, but you can go. Part of the reason I never deleted my Instagram because I did it more for me. I didn't do social media for anybody else. I did it all for me to say, like, I'm going to do this so I can look back if I get discouraged, right? Yeah. And by osmosis, people started asking me, hey, can you help me? You're going to do it on camera. It was just more like, why I really did it was I wanted to inspire others always with every word I put out there. And I felt like people would be scared to start. Now I could inspire people scared to start. And really, but it's almost like posting a workout. When you start posting a workout and say, I'm going to work out every day, you're held accountable to like other people, right? To inspire them. And that was kind of the same deal I did. And it's got to this far where we're at today,
That's really cool. Like we've talked about, me and Kyle have talked about this a lot because we took a while before we went on social media first off. And once we went on social media, we took a long time to start going live. And then it took us a long time before we started the podcast because we had a lot of fear behind just what, and I think we looked into it later and it's like we cared too much about what others thought, right? Yeah. Like talking about that.
That's probably, I don't care enough of what other people I didn't care less. I was talking to the girl tonight that we were at, and she's like, "You just post everything," and she's like doing her whole content plan that should I post this? I'm like, "Yeah, post it all." Like at the end of the day. But let me ask you this: what was the thing holding you back? And I think I know, but I want to hear it from you, and then I want to talk about it. What was the thing that was holding you guys back? Because by the way, you both communicate very well. You're both awesome people. Right? I don't even care, by the way, about views or comments, or it's cool when I get them. But if I don't, it doesn't break my day. It's just like post, then we'll see. I'm live right now, actually. So
nice.
Of course you are.
Just because promoting.
That's awesome. So you were asking us what held us back?
Yeah, well, what held, because you guys are both awesome. Obviously, you do financial services. Renji, you have a great personality. I met you in a second. You're married. You have more advice than I probably have to give right now with being married for so many years. So what do you think? And I'm going to go through kind of when I do the coaching sessions, what usually holds people back. But I want to hear what it was from you guys first. What do you think it was?
I love it. Good idea. So for me, it was just simply a fear of what other people were going to think, and me being too young, and like, who is he to say or to teach anything about money and financial services, especially. Yeah. When I got started on social media, I was 23, 24. So that's definitely what held me back.
Mine's is kind of the same. Also, like, I think when we started going social media and stuff, I wasn't making a lot of money. So I was like, who am I to give advice on money and stuff, So that, and I used to say I didn't care what people said or thought, but when I have some coaches that I work through the stuff with, and that was a lie. Technically,
deep down, you still cared. Yeah. I'd say the same thing to me too. Yeah.
So let me ask you guys this question, okay? This is what I always do on a coaching session. Do you believe, and you can each answer, do you believe people care or people don't care?
Now or back then?
Well, that's the great distinction. Well, yeah, say back then. We'll go back then because that's what we're talking about.
Then I would say people care. They're gonna, maybe they don't care, but they're gonna judge me. That's what I would have said.
Okay. Well, so what do you say now?
I would say that they don't care. Yeah.
All right.
And I've got a story behind that. I mean, you might be going to say the same thing, maybe not, but yeah.
No, I'm gonna tell a little bit different. But go ahead, tell your story. Go ahead. I want to hear it.
Well, it's so a couple different things, but like there's the story about like if everybody were to take a blank sheet right, and write down a list of just all the problems and all the crap they're going through, and to throw it in a pile and to pull out somebody else's list, you would quickly see somebody else's problems and everything that they're going through. And you'd be like, oh man, screw this. I don't want this list. I want my list back. And so that just kind of goes into the bigger picture of everybody has their own things going on, their own crap going on. Everybody's stuck in their own crap and their mindset and their life, that we're not really thinking about any other person other than ourselves. What's on the calendar for tonight? What am I doing tomorrow? What's work going to look like? What's next in my business? That if somebody posts something online, we scroll through it, we see it, and then we immediately forget about it. So it's like nobody is ever really judging anybody else, because we're all stuck in living our own lives, worrying about ourselves, thinking that the spotlight is always on us, when in reality the spotlight's on nobody, because we're all just living in our own little world.
Yeah. So here, I get your, and I've heard that before. I'm going to say something that will kind of shatter. This changed my life. Okay. And I'll explain it from this. So, by the way, Renji, what do you believe? Do you believe people care or people don't care?
They don't care.
Okay, cool. So, do you guys know what the RAS is, the reticular activating system?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. This changed my life. And this also came from one of my other mentors. If you say, and I did this, I'll tell you a story about it. Back when I started doing NLP certification and all this stuff and buying all this stuff, I'm at a bar. I'm sitting on my computer. There's a Ukrainian bartender, and she's all ticked off, okay? And she's mad, and she's just like, she's giving me horrible service because she's all upset. So I pull her aside, I ask her the same question. She comes to me, and she goes, I ask her, and she's like, yeah, people don't care. Nobody cares here. And I said, can you do me a favor? And she said, yeah. I said, can you go back home? I said, and can you just tell yourself that people care? And I explained to her the reticular activating system. She didn't really believe it. I said, no, if you do anything, just go back home and say people care. And she was really grumpy, and she didn't really listen to me. So I was like, whatever. I leave. I come back a week later. I'm sitting on my computer, totally forget about the conversation. She comes up to me, and she goes, Jeff. I want to let you know that changed everything. I actually listened to it. I went in the mirror, like you said, I said, people care. And the whole purpose of this is because when we say people don't care, our reticular activating system finds that people don't care. Okay. So because of that, we're finding and seeing that more. When you say people care, I believe people care. So I just find that people, like the fact that you guys have me on this podcast, I'm just thinking they took their time to have me. They care, right? So because of that, I do it. Now listen to this. This is crazy. When you believe people don't care, you're going to find more people that don't care. And then what happens is why those people are bummed out is because they believe don't keep it. And it's a chain reaction.
It's a cycle.
So, yeah, if you go back today, and by the way, both are true. There's people don't care, people don't care. It's what lens are you looking at? And literally, when you do that, it'll overcome the fear of that, because you'll just look for the people. You'll see the people open the door for you. People pick up stuff and everything. Now, there's people who are all caught up in this stuff that they don't care. That is true, okay? They're both 100% true. I just only find the people who care. It's the half grass, half full. I post a live. There's 3 people who care on my live right now, right? That's all I see, right? You know what I mean? And if even so that's the point. And it changed life. And where it really came from, the great Tony Robbins, who we all know, right? You know Tony Robbins?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He told this story. You know the story about Thanksgiving, right?
I don't know if I know that story.
So his story about Thanksgiving, he came from a very poor family. Why he feeds 5,000 people. And me and Tony are going to do something eventually soon. There's a crazy story with me and Tony that I'll tell later on. But whatchamacallit? But his dad, they went to bring turkey to him, and when they went to go bring turkey to him, his dad didn't want to take it. He said, "We don't accept charity." And the guy slammed his foot in the door. Tony tells the story better than me. It's his story to tell. But slams the foot in the door and goes, "Please don't let your ego refuse this charity and your family suffer." And the guy takes it and slams on the turkey on the clown and closes the door, right? And they were very poor. And what that did, it changed Tony Robbins' belief that people cared out there, even though his family did. And because of that, he's led to Tony Robbins. Okay, that's why he has this whole movement. He believed it. So it's the same principle. They're both true. But if anybody listening to this goes out and just thinks people care, you're right. You'll find more people who care. You'll be less fair about that. That's one of the ways we conquer for the people who come to me or Brandon, like, I don't know how to post content. It's really just training that subconscious mind on showing and finding the people that do care. Your life gets better, man. I like all the time, like the girl, I shouldn't even talk about it. The girl who broke my heart. Remember? She's had enough to come and have me take her out to dinner. You know what I'm saying? She wasn't looking for a free dinner, really. So
yeah. No, that's
it's all your
really
perspective.
Good perspective.
Yeah, it's perspective. But it is your perspective, right? but it is true though in a point, right? Like, because then I find that those people, right?
Yeah, no,
I mean,
that's
I
a
could look
really
at
good
it like
perspective.
you guys are having me on because I have an audience and you're trying to use my audience for it, my goodwill, and you don't care, you care more about yourself. I could look at it that way, right? But I don't look at it that way. I look at it as, hey, you guys cared enough to have me on, right?
Yeah,
So like,
yeah.
if I look at it that way, then I'm going to be so cynical every podcast I go on. You know what I mean? Right?
Yeah,
So it's just like, you don't want to do it that way, you know?
yeah.
It's just, to me, it's just like, I saw Tony Robbins do it. I did it. I read the book Power of Subconscious Mind that I told you about. And I just started studying it. And I was like, you know what? Let me program my subconscious mind to find more things that are better. So
That's powerful. Actually, one of my questions I was going to ask you was how important mindset is to entrepreneurship and everything. But I feel like you've already gone into that so in depthly. That's really cool because one of the things that made me start going live and posting on social media was like, okay, I know enough information that needs to be taught. So that's why it was our coach that Kyle mentioned before, Will. That's what he said. He's like, hey, forget what you're scared about or worried about. These people need to know your information that you know, because they're suffering because they don't have that information. And that's what motivated me to start posting stuff. And one of the books I like to go back to is, have you read Chase the Line by Mark Batterson?
Mark Patterson. I know. I've never read that book though. No.
Oh, so powerful. It talks about like the Benaniah chasing the lion into the pit in the Bible, one of David's men. But yeah, it's so powerful. It talks about taking action, and that's actually one of the books that made me start taking action into entrepreneurship itself. So, but yeah, I think a lot of it is mindset. So I guess you can expand on that a little bit if you want, on the mindset and how important that is to overcome failures or ups and downs in business or whatever it is.
I mean, yeah, I think we all know it's all mindset, right? Like even anytime you get to a new hurdle or a new devil, with every new level, there's a new devil, right?
Yeah.
So, and it's true, and you just need a different mindset to go over it. Like going to zero 3 times, more times you've gone to zero and then bounce back, you just get like a better mindset. It doesn't even bother you anymore, right? If anybody, I remember when I first came to Miami, I had 100K in the bank. I started my inner circle mastermind. And I was just like, man, I thought it'd be tougher than this. Like, this is like, I sold windows for ads. It's like, well, maybe not, right? And it wasn't until I was in Medellin, Colombia, the contract I was doing consulting for an AI course that we're going to build out for this guy. And when I was out there, I went to pay one of my sales guys. And this is on my funnel for the Online Business Blueprint, one of my courses, because it's exactly what I would do if I went to zero again, which is what I've done many times. And it's funny when resourceful, and I went to pay one of my guys, and all my accounts were wiped to zero, right? And I can smile about it now. But I prayed. I took off my hat, and I was actually at a conference months prior called Grow for God. Grant Cardone there, Glenn Lundy. There was worship music playing. By this time, I was still stuck at home. Everybody was telling me, Jeff, you got to go out on your own and do your business, right? And I just didn't want to leave my dad with anything, and that was probably it. So I prayed. I said, God, who am I start this consulting business? I'm not Grant Cardone. I'm not Tony Robbins. If I should do this, tell me the answer is yes. And a pastor came and tapped me on the shoulder from way far away. Didn't even hear me pray. He said, God's hears you. The answer is yes. So I sold my 4-unit, moved to Miami. And then because our penthouse, whatever high rise, got black mold, it was like better to go to Colombia. My buddy talked me into it. We're in Colombia. Sometimes God will strip you away from everything, right? To put it in a language I don't know, I can't hustle as much as I can go on the street here in Miami and hustle. And wiped out everything. And I remember thinking, man, there's nobody has money. There's nothing I can do. Where am I? And I was so dejected. And I prayed. And I took off my hat. And I had my core value, courage, on the back of my hat. I don't even have it. I left it in Colombia. But I put all the core values. I prayed. And I was like, God, I need courage right now. As soon as I did that, my phone went off. And Shalom, who still works with me today, she's her HR, it was her birthday yesterday. She texted me, hey, boss, God put this verse on my heart, Jeremiah 29:11. And then Nathaniel, who I just hired, I was like, I got to lay him off. Like, I'm like, how am I going to save money? I'm at zero. I can't pay him. He texts me, hey, boss, God put this verse in my heart, Jeremiah 20:11. And then I'm on a webinar. Now, my voice is hoarse because I'm trying to make the most desperate sales to like, nobody's buying. It was crazy. So I get on a call with this guy, Manny of Amp Your Life. And he had a ring that said Jeremiah 20:11. So I asked Siri, hey, what's Jeremiah 20:11? I actually after Shalom did it. And do you guys know that verse or no?
Yeah, I know the plans I have for you, says the Lord. I love
Perfect.
that
And
verse.
I didn't know that. Plans to prosper. And it's not for you to hear prosper. That's all I need to hear. Then the next verse 12 is do everything in prayer. So I went home in Medellin, Colombia. I got on my knees and I prayed. And I said, Lord, I'll put you first in everything. And I heard from his voice, hey, I got you, right? That was all I heard. And because of Turo and who I was at, and one of the guys structured a contract, we got $30K wired to me the next day. By the grace of God, I'm back in Miami. Both Shalom and Nathaniel still work for me. We actually grown since then. From it, we built a VA business in the Philippines out of that. So
That's
like
crazy.
my point in saying that, like that residual, even me telling that story, gives me confidence. Actually, I'm going to redo my reality board, which if anybody has a vision board, I challenge you to do a reality board. Mindset is also program the words NLP. Say vision, it's vision. You say reality, it's reality. So how we make our reality boards for everybody is we do 2 things we overcame in life. So maybe I'd put the picture of El Tesoro Mall in Medellin, Colombia, and remember me being at 0 and then 30K the next day. And then I put like me playing quarterback, right? Because they told me I couldn't play quarterback and all that, or me speaking on Amazon Prime, whatever the thing is that I overcame. Because as life gets tough, you see that my one sole focus, which could be my like online business blueprint course that brings in the money, and then 3 tangible gifts, right? 12-month goals with numbers on them, right? So if I want like a podcast studio in Miami, I know it's 16K. If I want a penthouse and I know it's 20,000 a month, right? Whatever you want, you put these things on it, because then you say, okay, how many courses do I need to sell to get it? What makes a reality board than a vision board by the mindset is that you look at it, like I have it on my phone. My phone died, but I have it on the back of my phone. I have it on here. You look at it daily, and then you do the math and you make it reality. I learned this at somewhere else. This is what we do for all our VAs, and it becomes part of my inner circle mastermind. We make them do this at the start because it's fun. The most fun thing is we all get unfocused, especially me, right? And it keeps you focused, like, okay, how many do you do this to get this, And then you do your 5-year goals on. And we call it a reality board because then you change it out. So I used to do vision boards, and vision boards work. You should do both of them, okay? Like have a multiple ones. With reality boards, it just has you a little bit focused on it. And changing that word of the mindset from vision is why I'm in Miami here by the nice windows and everything. Like I had that on my reality board. Like it's crazy. I can't wait to make the next one, So
That's awesome. Dude, I'm getting fired up right now to go work out.
yeah, it's good stuff, man. This is like I have a little inner circle I do. It's getting bigger, but it's on Tuesdays at 7. And I make it. And the coolest thing ever is seeing people who put stuff on the reality board, the ones who stay with it, the ones who don't do, and they like, man, I accomplished it. One of my 50K clients, Robert, I'll say his name. He owns Finance Insider. I actually own part of his company now. We did a consulted for equity with it. It's a multifamily finance company. The coolest thing ever is he made his reality board. Like before, he put out those ugly brownstone apartments in Boston. You know what those are? I think they're ugly. And I'm doing the reality board with him. Like, man, these things are ugly. And then all of a sudden they came available, and he's able to put an offer in. He's like, hey, remember we put this on the reality board? Like, and he was able to structure it, and it was just cool. So it's always cool to see stuff like, because at the end of the day, like I'm not a big stuff guy. Like it's more about the people I do it with, but like it's what you buy the stuff, who you live in the stuff with, right?
Yeah.
And it's cooler to have stuff with people. So like, but I tell everybody, put some tangibles because you're going to buy stuff anyway. So be detailed on what you want,
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's great.
That's very true. So, and once again, it's all perspective, vision board versus, reality board, and you're speaking it into existence, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, but more than perspective, it's also the words you say. The words you say are so important in mindset. That's one thing I learned. Like if I say, if I'm going to do this, when I'm going to do this, right? You hold yourself accountable to it, right? And it's self-belief and it's part of the mindset. It's almost like future truths, but it's really not lying when you're saying it out there, right? It's a different type of vibe. People start to believe you more, and then you start to believe yourself more, right? It's having that one day affirmation. Like you got to do it right now. Come out and say, one day I'll do this, right? I do it all the time with something that I get kind of shy away from saying it, but I'll do it right now. One day I may run for president of the United States, right? Then one day I will. I always wanted to. When I was little, I always wanted to. I get scared of doing that because I don't really like Washington D.C. They're trying to assassinate Trump, right? Like all this stuff too. I know the man I need to become if I ever do that, right? And like I'm single. Every girl reminds me like, well, there's no single president of the United States. You got to find a future first lady, But like that was one thing. By the way, I used to say before I was in Miami, I don't know if you remember, Kyle. I used to say I'm gonna live in Miami one day. I would say everything I'm doing now. So now I need to stretch. Like I'm already gonna there's the thing. It's already done. It's Bob Proctor, already done. The coffee shop. They just opened a coffee shop here called Crema over here. It was a restaurant called Key Lime. I didn't have the capital or the know-how to turn into a coffee shop. They just did. I'm hoping it goes out of business and I can buy it out and put Kokomo J's right there. And I already have it. I don't know if we're going to be able to do it, but like, see me, this is me documenting me talking out, and watch like 2 years out, we'll be in the old Crema. It'll go out of business. It's right across from there. And I have it right in here. And like, and by the way, I was in the place when it was key lime and it went out, and I didn't call on it. And this is why you shouldn't listen to people. Because I listened to someone in town about the coffee shop, and they said, oh no, they won't let you have 2 coffee shops across from each other. But they do right now. And I wanted to do it because I wanted to like be like they, and they did. So I listened to some nearby thing. I probably could have raised the money and built it a little sooner and got out of this. But I'd rather exit my consulting business and go all into it. I kind of have, I want to get the brand awareness known for Kokomo J's first and then build it. That's kind of the goal,
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. And dude, everything you're talking about is something that I've started implementing recently, which came from Charlie Rocket. I'm sure you know who he is, Jeff.
I love Charlie. I was supposed he took Anna Gonzalez on Charlie. If you're listening to this, man, he took some good looking Latina girl instead of me on one of his trips. I would love
no.
So.
Oh no,
that's funny.
Well, long story short, for those of you that may not be familiar with Charlie's story, but he talks about like a winning streak and like just tracking and keeping track of wins, and everything is a perspective. Yeah. Like, someone holds the door open for you, like Jeff said earlier, like that's a win, right? Like you get an extra green light on the way home. That's a win. Like documenting the little things because they all add up. And I'm a big sports guy, and live here in Cleveland. The Cleveland Cavaliers just went on a 15-game winning streak, which is the second longest streak ever in the history of the NBA to start off a season. And here's the thing, they don't have the best player in the NBA. They don't even have the second best player in the NBA, or the third or the fourth or the fifth. We've got balloons going on somehow in Riverside. This is the greatest podcast ever. But long story short, they went on this winning streak because they built up so much momentum and they had camaraderie in the team. They were playing together and like they're having fun. And I've said it before and I'll keep saying it probably to the day I die. Business is so much like a sport, and like winning and momentum and being with a team and working with people like translates over to business just as well as it translates in sports. And so I've been focusing and documenting, like every day I'm writing down between 7 to 10 wins and things that I can celebrate. And the craziest thing is things just keep falling in my lap. People that I was prospecting a year plus ago that ghosted me now are answering the phone or are reaching out to me out of nowhere. And it's the craziest things because I've started focusing on my subconscious mind, my thoughts, my attitude, and momentum. And like Jeff, everything you're saying, number one, I believe that you'll have that coffee shop here probably within the next few years. And it's because you're speaking it into existence. It's already happened. Time just hasn't caught up yet. And I love it, man.
By the way, going one further, and I do that. I write wins. When I start our inner circle calls, I make everybody say, oh, what's the win you have for the week, right? What's the loss you have, so we don't redo that? And what's the question you have for me, right? And I have them write it down because you get answers from questions. And then I read this out. This is my 5-year plan. I read this out every day. I don't know if we'll read this maybe at the end, but it's in my life, August 22nd, 2028. I'm 43 years old. I'm the leading founder of one of the largest world franchises, Kokomo J's, in the U.S., buying out Starbucks locations across the world. And then I go on in it, right? And I write out the girl. Actually, this is the girl that I just talked about. Whatever, she's gonna get so mad, but it doesn't matter. I'm officially the wealthiest man in the world, and the lady who broke my heart and dated the guy who bought her anything has come back to me to see it was possible fulfillment and not things. And that was the girl I just had dinner with, right?
Oh my gosh.
I was already writing because I was pissed, by the way. Like, sorry, I shouldn't say that word. My dad gets mad. But I was really mad because I wasn't the man there. And then I'm fulfilling my purpose, the greatest execution, the best seminars across the world. And then I'm in Kabul with Ami. I wrote this before then, right? Like everything, like stuff that I've written in here, I'm considering to run for office to keep God and Godly Principles Center of America. My work, family, and real family thriving. I'm the best version of myself. Lord has sculpted me into 5 years prior. And then what I did, how this got written was, okay, Miami, we went to like a Growth Wednesday house. This guy, Nick, had a boat, really nice house. Someone said, Nick, where are you going to be in 5 years? So he goes, go to my shower. They run up to the shower and they bring up this laminated thing. I think, man, stupid me. I paid $7,800 a year, like when I first started, for a coach for 6 sessions, okay? And the best thing he ever did was have me write 5 years. Well, everything I'm doing now, coaching, speaking, all that, is what I wrote down 5 years ago, okay? So even though they try to get me on life insurance and stuff, this was my plan, and I read it every day. But once I got to Miami, guess what? I stopped reading it. So now I'm at this guy's house and I'm like, man, this guy's more disciplined than me. And now he has way more money than me. I'm like, oh, I can't wait to see where he is. And then I read his out and he like undersold himself. He's like, I'm worth 226 million, blah, blah, blah. And I thought it would be like this. I have jets and stuff. And it's just like very mundane. And I thought, you know what? I undersold myself. I was like, I just said I was going to be in Miami. I just say that. So then one of my mentors always talks about the think's not big enough. So I was like, what if I really challenge myself, read it every day, really stretch my mind and like really read it out? And can I tell you something? I talk about consulting for equity. There's some things in here that like, by the way, it's bleak, by the way. Sometimes like entrepreneurship sucks, man. There's days when there's no money. You got to borrow money from your brother to pay payroll, like all that. Like I like putting it all out there because that's all my business. Okay. But some of the stuff that I wrote in here has happened already. And like, it's crazy. And I said, I vibrate to the highest level and radiate light to everyone around me, which I feel like is happening right now with us. This is my life. Thank you, Jesus. Right. So, dude, I encourage everybody to do this. Write out a 5-year plan and challenge yourself. And I might have to rewrite it a little bit, but it's really, that's the same thing, right? It's winning. I have rituals I do every morning. I go out by the pool here. I do like push-ups, sit-ups. Sometimes I document on social media. Sometimes I don't. I go on social media, but I read it and I write down. I sweep my list. We have a perfect day sheet. I don't know if I have it, but I sweep. I do a mind sweep of everything I have to do. I write my hardest things first. And I don't do it every day, by the way. Like some days I miss, right? Some days I wake late. I was at WealthCon. I didn't wake up. I didn't do it the days at WealthCon, right? And then I ate bad there too because they had all the food and you're out with people, right? It's like okay. They made fun of me when I ate French fries at the event. But yeah. So
That's funny, man. Like everything you're talking about, like I think you need to read that book I was talking about because it talks about in there. And that was one of the things that fired me up because it talks about if your dream is not big enough to scare you and make you cry, it's not big enough. And I think we talk about this time and time again. We undersell ourselves, right? We don't dream big enough. We sell ourselves short, and we don't. There's so much more we're meant to do, and we're putting God in our box, and we're putting ourselves in a box instead of we're meant to do all of these things outside the box, but we don't because we don't think big enough.
yeah, well, Matthew 24 talks about this too. Like we all have God-given gifts, right? And they talk about the parable and the Lord where He rewards, even though we all came from different stuff, right? One of them, the father rebukes because he just hid his money and didn't go out, and the other two who did it, he rewards, right? They got a better return. And like the way I look at it is the Lord's looking for a return from us, right? So it's my God-given gift to do that. So and like ego is edging God out. Me saying, hey, I'm going to do all this. I couldn't do it without him, like 100%. I'm not just saying that to be like, I really can't. Like the Lord, the great thing about business, okay, and being your own business is when I was working at Stop and Shop, okay, it was me, then my manager, then God. I had to go to my manager for time off. When it's a business, it's me and then God. It's a direct line. There's nobody else. I'm accountable to one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and I know when you have a wife, you start being accountable to them and stuff like that too. Being an entrepreneur, the hardest thing is being accountable because you have such a free reign, right? So what are you going to do with schedule? How's it going to be there? And if I don't protect my time, right, which is really, that's the best gift God's given all of us. He's given us time on this earth. If I don't protect my time and I don't really use this to, this is a podcast. I know you guys, this is a great use of our time to get our voice out here. If we don't use that, then I'm really just doing a disservice to him, So, and that's the same thing goes with taking care of my temple and my body, working out, even how I feed it. Like you can really take it kind of seriously, and not to like make anybody mad, but like, I didn't for a while. So this is my time now, you know what I'm saying? Like, so I'm doing it, man. I feel it. I feel like I'm looking better. I feel like I'm stronger, better in mind. And by the way, I know you say read that book, but I feel like I'm already doing it, right? So the thing I don't need, like I hate reading a book that all of a sudden like, I'm like, oh, but I'm already doing this. Where's the book I'm not doing, right? So I actually read the book just recently, Good to Great by Jim Collins. And it's really about being really focused and not being a headshot, being a level 4 leader and a difference between a level 5 leader, right? And I'm really focusing on that, on honing my leadership skills,
That's awesome. I know we talked a lot about mindset. Something I wanted to ask you too, because this is something me and Kyle were talking about before. You're a great connector. Like you're great at connecting people and everything. And I'm sure you get pitched a lot of ideas. How do you go from trusting to building building that connection to work with a business, or how do you go what's your mindset and process through all that?
Yeah, so it really comes, as silly as it sounds, it comes to core values. Like we all have core values we're about right here. And yeah, I do get pitched a lot. Okay. And once you start building up, and by the way, my brand's not even that good. Like it's not anywhere it's gonna be a year from now. But it is what it is. I have a brand. Okay. When you have a good brand, people want to associate and rub off on you. Like they want to be like, hey, can we partner with this? Because you have all this goodwill. And you don't know where it is. And there's been a few people in time where I've given them chances, and I wish I didn't, because our core values were. And I talked to them, I called them out on their stuff. There's a great quote, I think it's Ronald Reagan: trust but verify, right? So you don't trust anybody, but verify through people you're with. Have your core. We have our core creed. It's the gift of life every day is that God. Gift of life we have every day is wake up with courage, take on challenges, and challenge those around us to prove and strive for more. It was heed to wisdom greater than ours to advance our growth. That respect to all human beings as we understand we are changing all the time. That we have full understanding. We have full empathy with understanding that everyone is hurting at some point. We know it's plea for help, not to feed in victim-seeking behavior. We have extreme ownership on our constant progression as we hold each other accountable, each our own creative pursuits. High levels of integrity will keep us consistent as we work together to inspire others, always with words and action. So that's our core creed. I memorized that. All our guys know it. I actually did. That's the first time I've done it without actually reading it. So I actually really did memorize it. But I read that to it. And those are our core creed. So if people don't rock with those core values, everybody's replaced on it, right? Integrity. What's it mean to people, right? And that's kind of like, if some people will look at that and say, hey, that's corny, then they're not for me, right? Like, hey, that's the thing. We know this is our core creed. This is what we stand by. What words mean to, oh, nothing? Okay, then we can't work together. This is big with us, you know? So, and by the way, I'm a nobody, like really right now. Like I'm not a PBD and I'm not a Grant Cardone, right? I'm not. People like put me in those circles too and stuff. But like, I'm on my way. We're building it. And this is how it starts. It starts with foundation. It starts that I know where I'm at, right? I know where we're going to be. We run workshops here every week. I sell tickets to them, not every week, every month. And I do Miami meetups and signature dinners. And they're little, but they're getting bigger, and they're getting bigger word of mouth. And I make people, because I have so many people hit me up for coffee and everything or meet up, that I just started doing these meetups. And because I was such a connector by a God-given gift, like if you tell me you need something, I would connect people all the time.
Yeah.
It was a great way to connect it. And literally, I know we were talking about Grant before. Grant's a great connector. He does 10x. There's so much business for the economy.
Yeah.
You know, you can all hate on Grant because he sells a lot and stuff, but man, he stimulates the economy anytime. I know he stimulates his economy, but I've made a lot of money in his circle, and a lot of people have too as well. At any events, right? And that's why like everybody used to get on knock me for going to events. But I think events are a good way to put people in the room where they build trust with people, right? In person, right? We came and there was the ConnectCon. There were a lot of money done in those events too, making it there too. So I think it's really good to put people in rooms together. I think only certain people have God-given skills. We all have God-given skill sets. The people can do it. You know, that's their calling. They should do that. You know.
Yeah, that's how you learn something new or meet people you didn't know you needed to meet, right?
Yeah. Like even you, Renji, me and you like talked on Instagram, but then we met in person, right?
Yeah.
Me and Kyle, have we met in person yet or no?
You know what? I don't think so. I don't think so.
Maybe at a Grant Cardone event, but I don't remember it fully. But
Maybe.
now more. Oh, but this is
Yeah.
the part of why we should do podcasts too. Because now I feel like I know Kyle even more than Instagram DMs. Renji, I feel like I know more. And you want to get to like 6 to 12 touches before you like fully trust somebody, right? That's just everybody. Like everybody's like, how do you trust somebody? You want to get to as much content. You want to be around them a little, you know? And you got to remind me that with every girl I fall in love with right away. Because I fall in love with them right away. I fall in love pretty quick, you know. Every girl's reminding me, Jeff, just take it slow. Adam Sosnick, you guys know what Adam Sosnick is?
No.
Name sounds familiar.
He's on Patrick and Davis podcast, but I was talking to him. He's a cool dude. He's not he's single too. I'm single, so I always make a joke who's gonna get married. So I was telling him about this girl I liked one time, and he's like, "Dude, you sound like you're really like," because I'm just a go getter, right? I'll go get everything. He's like, "Hey," he goes, "You should play it cool." And I was like, yeah. He's, or don't play it cool and let me know how that it works out for you. You know? And I was like, yeah, he's got a point there. But are you guys both married or no?
I'm not yet. Renji is though.
Okay. Yeah. So let me ask you this, Kyle. Like, does it it scares me? I just when I found this girl I like, I signed up for therapy right away because I self-sabotage.
Oh, no.
I know I self-sabotage. So I didn't want to self-sabotage. Like I like this girl. I just don't want her to get harmed by my own bad habits of scars from other relationships, right? Because I knew I
Mhm.
was carrying those scars, right? It's very clear to me. I have a fear of losing my brother and losing my mom with no life insurance. When people get close to me, I tend to push them away. And sometimes I push them away by smothering them, and I know it's going to push them away, right? Like I don't play it cool on purpose. Like I kind of like fully know what I'm doing because I'm like, no, I'd rather be by myself. But I really don't. I made I was telling to PBD that I want to be a father. Like I made that clear. Business is never going to be perfect. Okay. I trust God. Either I trust God or I don't. Right. I'd rather find a girl while I'm building now than like when I've made a whole ton of money and I have an ego and you got to listen to me because I've seen guys with money and they get a girlfriend and because they lead with like an iron fist. It's cooler to be if I can. That's what I would love to do. And by the way, I hate talking about this in the podcast. It goes in. Everybody's always like, "Oh, I'll set you up with this girl. I have somebody here." That's not why I'm doing that. I'm documenting my thought process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's also a form of marketing too. You know. What
Yeah.
about you, Kyle? Are you terrified of like the dating scene and all that? Where are you located? Where do you live?
No, I'm in Cleveland, Ohio, but I used to live in Florida for 2, 3 years. I moved down there in May of 2021 because at the time, actually, ironically enough, I was single, didn't have kids. And so I was like, hey, if I ever want to live in Florida at one point, might as well try it out now. This is a pretty good time. So I moved down there. I was down there with with one of my really good friends. We were there for about a year or so, I think, maybe a little under a year, and then actually started talking to my high school sweetheart. She was my high school sweetheart. I wasn't hers. I was like her best friend. We had one of those things going on. I got friend zoned, right? But
That's why I don't ever.
surely enough,
I tell girls I don't need any friends. I'm not gay, and I always try and kiss them. I've always done that all the time. So if I ever run for president, there might be some girls who come out and say like, "Man, Jeff tried to kiss me," but I was like, "Hey, we're not being friends,"
there you go.
I don't need
Well,
any
that
girls.
was us in high school. And then, yeah, 12 years later, whatever it was, she finally came around. And now we've been dating for almost 3 years. 3 years will be coming up in a few months. And so, yeah, we'll see.
So she's not friend zone, so you got her.
Yeah, 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 yeah. The nice guy always wins, Jeff.
Then maybe I'll be all right then.
There
Yes.
you go. Yeah, there you go.
Maybe I should listen to you then on that.
For sure.
What?
So, oh, go ahead.
No,
I don't want to stop your thoughts. You're
yeah,
just, like we said at the beginning of this. You're just a great conversationalist. So keep on going.
my thoughts are dangerous. Though. I'm kind of
Oh
trying
no,
to.
it's getting like 9 o'clock. You're like, I'm getting
Yeah, it's like
sleepy
late night.
now.
This was like a late night fun podcast.
Yeah.
No, because the girl that I just went to dinner with tonight, she brought up being friends, and I told her like, hey, listen, I've always liked you more than friends. I know we're here. I'm really not friends with girls, but I really do care about her. Where I knew it would be a beneficial friendship. Like besides it, we're like, here's the thing. Like we're all guys, and we're Jesus guys. Right, Kyle, you're safe too,
Yeah.
right? But I always wanted to be like Tim Tebow and not have sex before I was married. I did have sex when I was 22. Okay, I didn't want to. I broke up with a girl. I don't even like having sex. I know this sounds this crazy conversation, but I really don't. It's a lot of work. It really is for me. Like I'm not like crazy about that. Okay, when I really like a girl, I don't want to have sex with her. And like in Miami, all these girls just want to hook up, right? So like it's almost like the last thing is when you like a girl, if we all like a girl and they just want to hook up with you, it's almost like how the girls feel, right? When guys just want to hook up with them, right? So, I mean, I not to say that I haven't seen girls and I haven't hooked up with girls like that. I have. And it just never, like, the whole goal for me is to get married. So, what's the point? I'm just wasting time and possibly, like wasting energy. All that stuff is not going anywhere, So, a lot of times, too, there was a great book, The Think and Grow Rich, and it was Power of the it's chapter 14, Power of the Sexual, and it was talking about using that sexual drive into business. And when I coded my software for leads, I gave up all girls, all alcohol for years. This is when I was in Connecticut, right? Which wasn't saying much because there weren't too many good-looking girls in Connecticut. So Miami, different story. So a lot of good-looking girls here.
There you go. Jeff, we always end all of our podcasts asking 2 questions, and I'm very curious to hear your answers. The first one, what's the worst advice you've ever been given?
The worst advice, I've ever been. It came right to it. It was exactly. It's coming full circle that people don't care.
Yeah.
It was that selfish thing of people don't care. They only care about themselves. And the reason why is because if I believe that, I don't think I would have documented it, right? I would have been like, well, people don't care. And like I did hear that back in the day. I really do think that's still like that would have crippled me more, you know. I really think I believe like inspiring other always and making people have a better perspective on their life, no matter how bad it is, would make everybody's life better. I think everybody would be better if they left this podcast and just when they're on there. So, you know what? I'm just going to find the people who care today. And if you don't find the people, my number is 786-828-9907. And I have no qualms about that. I care. I genuinely care. I care about everybody. I care about your guys' podcast and the views they get. I really do. To a fault, maybe, where it kind of gets me out of the time. But like, I just know how it is when people don't care. And I've seen people do that. No, I'll tell you a story on that. I watched my brother, and this is why I want to build a coffee shop, going to Dunkin' Donuts when my brother was all lost, believe nobody cared, before my brother passed away. And he went in and he was trying to talk to the Dunkin' Donuts person. And they didn't care. They were having a rude day, right? They believed nobody cared, so they saw him. And he was trying to talk to him. My brother, he just got he was just looking for reasons to get mad. But my brother like was just trying to be cool. And the person was just rude to him. And he's like, well, you know, I just saw how it affected my brother. My brother was in a bad mindset. And so if you ever go to Chick-fil-A and how they're in there and they always they're like almost super going. Well, this story, when an employee works at Kokomo J's, every single Kokomo J's, they're going to care. Just like at Change Life Consulting, you talk to Ken, talk to Shlomi, they care. Okay. That's the biggest thing that we teach. And it's cool. Customers feel sold. You know this. If you're selling financial services, they feel that when you care about them, writing them a policy for their life, and you really care about them being better off, right? They care. If you say, hey, man, I just want to get a commission and do this whole thing, that people can feel that. You know what I mean? So if you really go by customer feels thing, and I want that to go viral, right? Like that feeling go viral. Just like when we say Chick-fil-A, that's a culture that we know them, you know?
Yeah.
I want to create that. And it doesn't happen overnight, but it happens by talking about here. One person listening to this and saying, hey, does he have Kokomo J's? I'm going to go work there. And you find someone who believes into it. And it's by casting a vision, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Dude, I'll tell you what, you caught me off guard when you asked us those questions and you came back and you flipped it. But like just from the conversation that we've had today, number one, I've learned a lot. And dude, this 47 minutes we're going on now has felt like it's flown by, which is insane.
Yeah.
But you changed my perspective on that, and I can see how like, man, just like thinking like that can really mess up your mindset. And like it's even motivated me more now to go and produce content, even though I already do produce content, but like I want to get out there and make more because, you know, like the people that do support, you know, the page and swipe up and send comments and say different things, it's like, you're right, they do care. You know, they want to hear the story.
Yeah.
They want to keep watching and everything. So like I appreciate you challenging us on that. And switching our perspective. I'm sure Renji, I see him nodding, is saying the same thing. It's like,
Yeah.
I never thought about it that way, but that was basically for lack of better terms, a toxic mindset that we had about it. But
Wait, and you're not alone. I
yeah.
had that too. I heard people say that, and I did believe that, right? And this is what changing
Yeah.
life consulting became. Like this whole logo, two things is to make people more money or their lives get better. It's usually Mo. And I kid you not, Kyle. You say this just after this podcast, just like the girl in the Ukrainian, it'll be better. Like you'll just feel like I know this man. And this is why I love getting on podcasts and doing this stuff, because like I'm not trying to flip or it's not like a gotcha thing. It's just I just want to see where people's blinds are because I believe that. This has been how I've shattered through walls was that belief. Okay. And by the way, the fact that June has scripted me all this stuff and the girl wants me to dress up in a suit now, like I have to wear this suit, is because she cares and they want people to take me serious. And they're like, Jeff, you have all this value, but you're winging it. If you wear this more, right? Which I don't like wearing these suits. Ami got me to wear this. I wore the suit. I bought purple because of the blue one. But if you wear more of this stuff, people take you more serious. And so now I'm noticing they all care about me. So I'm going to do it for them, like kind of in a way, right? They're caring about my brand. So, and guess what? It's easy to document now for me. I got that down. It's not scared. This is harder. So I have to now do what's harder for the greater good and put out messages like this, you know?
Yeah. No, it definitely was challenging because now that I think about it, yeah, thinking that nobody cares is the glass half empty mindset, you know? So
you're right on both of them. Okay. You are right. And you are right, Kyle. It's a perspective. You're actually very smart by saying, but it's perspective. It is perspective. but everything's perspective. Why Elon Musk does what he does is because he had the perspective that, okay, I don't care how many times I blow up the rocket, I can do it the fourth time, right? His perspective was like, we'll figure it out no matter what, right? If someone said, I can't do that, like it's everything's perspective, right?
Yeah.
Like, and it's not that you're even lying to yourself. You're keeping it real. It is the glass half full, right? You got to look at it that way. And there is that side. But if you guys go out today and you just challenge and you do exactly what I did and you ask somebody and you shatter, then it's a ripple effect. And this is what I really want to do. Go reteach this. Go say it to someone. Ask the lady, hey, do people care? No. Hey, the reticular, tell them the whole thing. And you'll watch them click and their day will get better. And by the way, if we all have bad days, right? There's a guy who actually wrote a book, No Bad Days Ever. Like it's all perspective, right? Which is true. But if you have enough data in there, remembering it, and you go back to these events and put them out, I still watch some of my past YouTube content, right? Because it inspires me. There's a video on my YouTube channel, when you're lost, feel this. And I put out when I was lost because we all felt lost, you know?
Yeah, for sure. And then Jeff, to bring it all home, what's the best advice that you've ever received?
The best advice so I've received a lot of advice, right? Going to all these masterminds and stuff. You know, not to keep it, but it's when it got real. It was stop, like it kind of came full circle. It was by Jeff Hoffman. He's the guy at Priceline.com. And when I was talking about my vision, he said, well, is it a vision or is it reality? Right. And I said, well, it's a vision. Like, this is my vision, right? Like I was all proud. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a visionary. And he said, yeah, but reality, you'll get it done. And that's what launched the reality board, right? Of what I explained before. And it was just the best because it also opened to me, like even me back then and even now, like I have visions about running for president. It's not a reality, right? I have a vision like, oh, how would that look, right? That's a vision, right? And I really don't want, I did put on my reality once board and I looked at the White House, like, I don't know if I want to be there, you know? But my point in saying, like, I'm not scared to say it. Like, I don't care. People are like, you're going to be a horrible president, all this. I have people, I don't even care what they say. Like, the day I need to win votes, right? So I will have to care a point to that. Like, that's the ultimate way of putting it out there, right? And I'm getting everybody into that. But I think that's it. It's just like, watch what you say, really, right? Watch what you say because you become what you say, right? And that was kind of the whole mastermind I was in there. And that's why speaking out future truths is key. Hey, one day I will have this, right? I will. That I try. I think that's key, man. I think if anybody could practice, kind of like you said, writing down wins. You know, people kind of laugh about it. Oh yeah, I write down one day I will have. I'm already in. That stuff's key, man. It's paradigm shifts. Doing that stuff, like 80% of it's mindset, 20% skill set. It's so true. Writing it down, have an accountability group, being a group of people doing this, and that's what makes it better. We feed off people's energy and just their ideas. So like that's it. You know, just watch what you say. It's really like. But not like watch what you say like in prom, like watch what you say to yourself, right? That's probably the best advice I've gotten.
For sure. For sure.
Yeah,
Well,
because I
Jeff,
think we talk the most negative to ourselves. So
Oh yeah,
that's a
me
great
included, by the way. Like I
Yeah.
come on here all strong, dude. I was all dumb. There was a girl not talking to me. I was all down. She doesn't want to be with me. She wants to be a rich Switzerland guy. I got to get a house in Lake Como, right? These are real problem things that I was thinking, right? So like it doesn't like even though I come on here and I put on like kind of a show, I'm just as human. I have the same thoughts, but it's more sense to go this isn't a show. This is me just like rising to the occasion, right? Inspiring people. Human, but I'm gonna rise to the occasion here too, you know?
Yeah, for sure. Well, Jeff, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. Where can people go to find you on social media?
Yeah, so Jeff the Entrepreneur everywhere. We're actually now trending and doing Jeff J. Cunningham. My older brother's name's Jay. He passed away. So if you search Jeff J. Cunningham on Google, my podcast, the Make More Money podcast, will come out. We launched that as a sponsored podcast right now. So we're having people pay to be on it. We're doing a studio here at the Move Miami. And we're really trending as we're doing this rebrand from Jeff the Entrepreneur to Jeff J. Cunningham. It sounds a little more presidential, a little more official, probably talk a little slower. We'll be a little more pontific. They just scripted some stuff out that I might try and record after this too, but my mics weren't working today, so I got to get them working, you know?
For sure. Always got to get the mics working. Well, Jeff, once again, thank you so much. And thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of the Wealth Building for Dummies podcast. If you guys made it to the end, make sure to like, drop your comments below. Thank Jeff for coming on here and subscribe. And we'll see you guys on the next episode. Take care.